Hello, everybody. For today's Day 5 flipped homework video, I'm actually going to start off by doing a video answer key of the Day 4 homework that you guys worked on at the end of today's class, just in case you weren't sure, or you went home, you found your calculator, and now you want to make sure you know how to put it in correctly. Let's just go over these real quick. So it's not my intention you actually listen to every question for the homework. I would hope that you jump the video a little bit, see if your answer matches mine. If it does, awesome. Otherwise, come back and watch the pieces you need to. So for number 1, it says calculate d of 3 given this function. So it's going to be d of 3 equals 0.6 times 8. And where I see x, I'm actually going to plug in that 3. In your calculators, I'm going to put in green what you need to type in. It's going to be 0.6 parenthesis 8 and then caret 3. Remember, depending on what calculator you have, that caret could look like that, or it could be a big box raised to a little box. If you're still using your phone, which will hopefully not be the case by the next class, it's going to be x raised to the y, is what I saw on people's phones in class today. All of these, or even some have x to a little box. All of these mean the same thing. When I say caret, they all mean an exponent raised to some power that you're going to set. In this case, raised to the third. When we type that into our calculators, so 0.6 parenthesis 8, close it, raised to the third power, we get 307.2. For some of us, it gives us a fraction before it gives us a decimal. To get the decimal, look for a button that says S, and there's an arrow in the middle, and D. That means simplified or fraction form to a decimal. So that button can be the key for some of us if when you put this in, it gets you a fraction instead of the decimal right away. Number 2, calculate g of 53. And again, I'm given a function, so let's plug it in. G of 53 equals 3 parentheses 0.44 to the 0.04 times 53. In our calculators, that's going to be 3 parentheses 0.44 caret, or whatever equivalent button you have to that on your calculator. I have to group this together. 0.04 times 53 has to be inside parentheses for your calculator to understand what you're asking it to do. So 3 open parentheses 0.44, close it, caret or exponent button, parentheses 0.04 times 53, close it. And we should get 0.526 if we're going to round to 3 decimal places, which we will because that helps us get ready for the SAT. And we're done. Numbers 3 and 4 were real-world questions. A college's tuition in the year 2000 was $10,850, and it has risen 5% each year since then. The equation, j of x, so as soon as I see that I have an equation, I'm going to highlight it, represents the amount of tuition, t, defined variable, I will underline that. The function represents the amount of tuition, and then t represents the number of years after 2000. Predict the cost of tuition for this college in 2016. So first, let's define variables. T is number of years after 2000, and this should say j of t, sorry about that. J of t equals amount of tuition. The question is, what will the cost of tuition be in 2016? We have to be careful. Sometimes we jump to plugging in this number. But if I look at how I defined T, T is the number of years after 2000. So off to the side, we have to do 2016 minus 2000, and that gets us 16. 2016 is 16 years after 2000. So that is what I'll be plugging in. J of 16 equals 10,850 times 1.05 raised to the 16. Go ahead and type that into your calculators, and we'll compare answers. I got $23,684.19. I'm going to round that to 2 decimal places because we're talking money. If we compare, in 2000, tuition was that much, roughly $1,100. In 16 years, notice the jump from 10,850. 16 years later, it is now costing $23,684 to go. Let's get back to our skills of identifying our characteristics and sketching a graph. So A is 10,850. B is 1.05. I know that this is going to be growth because B equals 1.05, and that value is greater than 1. If I look, I don't see plus or minus a value here, so my asymptote is y equals 0. Remember, the asymptote comes from k. We will draw our asymptote first on the y-axis. And then if I look, this is growth, so left to right, it is going to increase. My domain will be negative infinity to positive infinity. My range is 0 to infinity. A good question came up in one of the classes today about restrictions. And it was a good question because technically my x values, my inputs, represents years after 2000. So technically, I should just be looking at the first quadrant. But that would involve some more accurate graphing to actually know what this value is right here. And for our purposes, because we're doing a rough sketch, we're just going to do a rough domain and range. It's not exact relative to the real world question. So I wanted to mention that because that was a good discussion point in today's class. Number 4, the population of Campbell County, Kentucky has been decreasing at an average rate of about 0.3% per year. In 2000, the population was this much, 88,647. The equation, I see I have an equation, I'm going to highlight it. P of x equals this, represents the population. So the equation, this is what P of x is. I keep on putting x, it's supposed to be T, P of T. P of T represents the population, and T is the years after 2000. If the trend continues, predict the population in 2019. So by reading carefully, I right away know that T is number of years after 2000, and P of T represents the population, the number of people. 2019, you have to ask yourself how many years after 2000 is 2019. So 2019 minus 2000, we get 19 years. So that's my input. We're going to calculate f of 19, and I'm going to use this model that I highlighted. So 88647 times 0.997 raised to the 19. Go ahead and enter that into your calculators. We will compare answers. And I got 83,728. Technically 0.25, but we can't have or 0.257. I round to 3 decimal places. We can't have decimal people. So the real world meaning is 83,728 people. Even if this was 0.9, I would not round up because you don't actually have that 9th person there. You don't have 0.9 of a person. Definitely a decrease. Notice in 2000, the population was 88,600 approximately, and now it's dropped, in about 20 years, it's dropped down to 83,728. Clearly evidence of the decrease that was mentioned. Let's work on our skills piece here. A is 88,647. B is 0.997. 997. That tells me this will be decay because B equals 0.997. That is a value between 0 and 1. When I look at my function up here, there's no plus a number or minus a number. So that makes K 0, which means my equation for the asymptote is y equals 0. We get our dotted asymptote on y equals 0. It's always a horizontal line. In this case, right through 0. So y equals 0 is the asymptote. This is exponential decay. So left to right, we're going to decrease. Domain, negative infinity to infinity. Range, 0 to infinity. The asymptote will always affect the range.